What is up guys, and welcome to my latest video here on SP Vids. In today's video I wanted to talk about a few features that I think are still missing from the SP404-MK2 in 2024. We have had discussions about this in the past on this channel, but I still think there's things I'd love to see on this device. Some of them are a bit pie in the sky, maybe could never happen. Some of them are a bit more realistic. And I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this as well. So make sure you leave a comment below. Which features would you still like to see on the SP404-MK2? It'd be really interesting to hear your thoughts about that. Okay, so point number one, and I don't know how realistic this one is, but I would love to see some way of kind of rethinking the bus effects and the way that the bus effects work. I think they're extremely limited, and one thing that I'd really like to see is a way of stacking effects on the same pad. So for example, if we were able to select a pad like A13 like this, you can see that's selected on the screen now. Maybe there was some sort of way that you could press an effects, and much like the MPC Live 2 interface, which I'll show a quick screenshot of now, I'd love to see the ability to add numerous effects to the same pad so that we're not constantly having to resample. I know a lot of you are into the resampling workflow and it's cool the results you can get, but obviously it's very destructive, and on top of that as well, it's also very time consuming. So we can have 4 different effects stacked on the buses, which is great. Then we could resample that, but it'd be much less time consuming if we could just have different effects on different pads all stacked at the same time. This could be one of those ones which is a bit unrealistic. I don't know how much kind of memory this device has to be able to cope with that much going on at the same time. But if that was at all possible, even if it was 2 different effects, you could have 2 different effects on every single pad all at the same time. I think that would be such a revolution in terms of the workflow of the buses and the MFX, and something that would be really, really cool. So yeah, that's point number one, effect stacking. I think that would be a big update, but it'd be really interesting to see what people could do with that. Okay, point number 2, chaining pads, and let me explain this in a little bit more detail. And I think this sort of leans into the resampled beat making technique. So let me just do a really, really quick example here. What I'm going to do is resample a very small piece of music, and we'll do resample record to 10, and let me play this. Okay, so let's say we wanted that. Okay, great, we've got that. And now I want a variation. I'm going to do a slight pause at the start with the drums. Now if you wanted to play those back, it would be really, really cool if you could kind of select the pads and the order that they play in, maybe create a chain, and then they would just play continuously one after the other, and you won't have this problem with trying to get the timing exactly right when you're trying to play a beat back if you've built it in this way by resampling over and over. For me, really, if I was making a beat using the resample technique, I would probably end up putting these into a DAW and then making sure all the gaps in between and everything are really small and basically unnoticeable. It'd be really nice, I think, if you could just say play pad 10, then play 11, then 12, etc. and you could line up all those different parts and it would play it back in order. So it's kind of like the playback of patterns, but just for pads. I think that would be really cool. As far as I'm aware, there isn't a way to do that on the SP. If there is, and I've completely got that wrong, then let me know, but I think that would be a really nice feature to see. Okay, point number 3, and this is one which I've seen requested a lot, and I didn't really used to be too bothered about it until I've started using the MPC a lot more, and that is the fact that we're limited to 16 chops. I think that is quite a weakness with the chopping side of things. I think the chopping on this is really good and really powerful, but this surely is quite an easy way to be able to have more than 16 chops, and there's always a need for that, especially when we're chopping large sections of music, and as well when you're chopping drum breaks and you're looking for all different sounds, you can very quickly run up to 16 different samples and chops. So it will be really nice to see an upgrade to that where we can go past 16, where we can go past one bank and it automatically just runs into the next one. Again, like the MPC, well, that's exactly what the MPC does. It will do the 16 pads and then it'll just go to the next bank and start filling that up as well, and so on and so on. So I would really like to see that implemented. I think there is a need for having more than 16 chops in certain situations. I've come across them, and I'm sure you guys have as well, and I know for a fact that this is something that a lot of you want because I've seen it in the comments before. So yeah, if we took a sample here and then we go into the chop mode, and I haven't got a lot to work with here, you can see I've filled the 16 up there and I might not have finished what I've wanted to do. So yeah, an upgrade where you can chop a sample up more than 16 different times, that would be really, really welcomed. I know a lot of you would love to see that. Okay, the next one is recording rates and different sample rates. Now, I really hope this is something that they can do with the Mark II. I really hope this gets rolled out in an update, and it's one of the reasons why I keep having to go back to older devices, such as the SP404, the Roland MS1. Those different sample rates can really, really help to add a lot of flavor to your beats. So it would be really, really nice if something like that was introduced onto the SP404 Mark II. Whether that was an MFX or maybe an option when you're recording in, I think that would be probably a little bit cleaner. That would be really, really nice. So we can just get some of that kind of old school flavor on our beats. We could record in at a lower rate and get those sounds of the SP1200, the earlier MPCs. That's the kind of magic that we want to see, especially those of us that use this for lo-fi beats and lo-fi hip-hop. So that would be a very, very welcomed addition for me, being able to sample in at different sample rates and being able to recreate those tones from older samplers. That would be very, very welcomed to me. Okay, another one, and this is a huge bugbear of mine, and this does get very tiresome when you are in the middle of a session on the SP404 Mark II, and that is the MFX displaying on the screen. So if I wanted to choose an MFX, let's just hit this and it probably will be Vinyl Sim. There we go. So it's on the screen for now, and there we go, it's disappeared already. So we've lost sight of that. Now, you can get around this by just holding Remain and hitting the MFX button again. Now this will stay on the screen until basically you do something else or you exit it with the exit button. So you can get it to stay on the screen, but it's so annoying every time you're playing around with a beat, trying out different effects. You're constantly having to press Remain and go back into the MFX, and it just gets really, really tiresome. So what I would like to see with this is something in the utilities, something in the options where you can just say, if I choose an MFX, display it on the screen permanently. So we could just have it in the system menu, maybe here, so MFX screen, permanent or temporary, they're the two options that could be on it. Just a really, really simple update that, but I think that could be achieved and it could save a lot of tedium when you're making beats, because it's just so frustrating constantly having to remember to press that Remain button. I mean, there we go, I'm having to do it again now because I've come out of it. So yeah, I'd love to see that updated. I think that would be a really nice addition when you're doing those long sessions on the SP, and that would be a lot less annoying than having to hit Remain and the MFX button all the time. Okay, last but by no means least, and see if you can guess what I'm going to say with this one. I imagine you probably can, but I can't believe we still don't have this on the SP404 Mark II. I'm starting to wonder whether it's not possible. And let's say it all together, sidechain compression. Where is it on this device? We are crying out for this as a community. It's one of the last pieces of the puzzle on this device, I think. It just seems like some sort of fairy tale now to have sidechain compression on an SP device. When that day comes, we're going to have to be cracking open the champagne, because the whole community is just dying out for this one. And you know, I've played around with some other samplers relatively recently, for example, the Circuit Rhythm and again the Sonicware Lo-Fi 12 XT. They've both got a sidechain compression option, so it can't be that difficult to implement it if those units are able to do it. I just think Roland really need to get their heads around this one and get this out as soon as possible, and I'm actually amazed that we're still waiting for it. I think that is a priority update that we want to see, and I just hope that it's possible. I have a really bad feeling that it's not, and that's why it hasn't been implemented, but sidechain compression is just one of the things in all kinds of genres of beat making that you just have to have. It has to be in there. So we'll have to keep our fingers and toes crossed for that one. But yeah, last on the list, sidechain compression. We really, really need to see that. So hopefully that will come one day. Okay, so there are all my thoughts in 2024 for what I'd still like to see on the SP404 Mark II. Like I mentioned earlier, guys, I'd love to hear your comments on this, so leave them below. What other features would you like to see on this device? I know that some of the ones that I've mentioned there possibly aren't even doable, but those are just things I'd like to see. So yeah, like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and shout out to all my members again for the support. Don't forget to check out SP Vids for all my beat packs and merch. That keeps me funded doing what I'm doing here. But apart from that, guys, keep making beats, and I will see you all again in another video very, very soon.